Hey there, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather this morning. I appreciate you coming on with us. We very much appreciate the folks at the American Red Cross for coming on as well here in a moment. We know that recovery continued overnight. We do have reports now in, unfortunately, of another fatality, this time in Alcorn County. Don't have a lot of information on that now, but we will be releasing that as that comes in, unfortunately, as this storm has taken another life. We obviously, as you can see, the picture still coming in this morning behind me, and it's still the bent trees. It's all the issues, and power outages are still going to continue to be a problem with these very cold temperatures the next few days we have going forward. With me here is Casey Grist with the American Red Cross North Mississippi Executive Director. Thank you so much for joining us on Mississippi Live this morning. I know that you guys have been busy the last few days, trying to help folks out. What can you tell me about your efforts?
Thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate the opportunity. This is what the Red Cross does. We respond to disasters and do our very best to, reach out to people and provide help where needed. And as you can imagine, this has been a challenging response. Number one, it's not something that any of us do very often, but the inability to get into communities where people need us is a challenge, and it's one that is of course very frustrating to us because we want to provide help and support. But in some communities, we have been able to work and get resources in there. We do have an active shelter open over in Cleveland, Mississippi, and then we do have one here in Tupelo that yesterday was moved from the Cadence Arena to the Link Center. At that shelter, we're serving right now about 30 clients, and we're providing obviously a warm place to stay. We're providing meals, and any other necessities that they need at this point. Our team is staying in touch with local officials throughout North Mississippi to determine when roads are passable and when we can be able to get in and provide additional support.
And I think you kind of hit an important point there. When roads are passable, I mean, there's a window during the day where travel is possible, but
Right.
even then, the trees and things like that have been causing such issues. Have you been able to make all the people that have reached out to you through various channels? Have you been able to get to those people at this point?
No, not 100%. It's like you said, it's just the Red Cross is not equipped with any kind of specialty vehicles that would allow us to get into some of those areas. Now, in some cases, we worked with officials, ahead of the storm and were able to pre-position, cots and blankets and some shelf-stable meals and those kinds of things. So there are communities where you may not see the Red Cross per se, but our materials and things we're able to get in. I have heard yesterday that hopefully, I know in a couple of cases there are local emergency managers and different officials who are going to be coming here. They feel like they can travel, whereas we may not be able to get to them, and they're going to be picking up some resources and things to take back. We're working on trying to get shelters open, in some of the hardest hit areas. It's just a struggle to get there, so that we can do it.
We were talking, I think, Tippah County Emergency Manager. I think y'all have one, I believe, there at the fairgrounds that they're trying to get in place today. I think
Trying to
you
get
mentioned.
open. Yep. Looks like we're going to get that done today.
Okay, that's great to hear. I know that they're people are cold, people are concerned. At home. I see someone saying, morning power and water still out, so cold. Um, it's part of what we're trying to do with this is provide information and hope at the same time, because we will get people closer to those people that are trapped, but it's taking time, right?
Yeah, and I would say, especially if there are emergency type needs, like you mentioned this morning. I mean, we continue to hear of the fatalities, and of course, no one wants those kinds of things to happen. Um, if there are emergency type needs, there is a vulnerable adult that, requires power because they need oxygen or medical equipment or, there's an elderly person, I would encourage them, to reach out locally to their authorities, but also to call the National Red Cross number, which is 1-800 Red Cross, and report that. Um, I can't promise that we would be able to get to that person, but at least someone would know, and we would work with partner agencies, to try to get help to someone.
I think that's one of the important things. You guys have these interconnections. It's one thing,
Correct.
and I'm not going to point this back to 9/11, but like it was just such an emphasis. I remember after 9/11 that these agencies all need to have stakeholders that know one another. And I think this is one of the benefit of this is somebody calls the wrong person. We now, I think, have a better idea of how you get the right person in that instance. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, absolutely. And of course, I mean, the Red Cross is a global organization. And so our reach, goes far beyond North Mississippi. And we have national partners that we can call on. And, from that national hotline, we're able to reach out, and hopefully get someone that can provide assistance if we can't.
Um, yeah, I see someone behind the scenes here saying last night was scary cold. How would someone know if it is too cold? And I know that obviously nobody wants to be cold, but one of the comments in talking to different officials, yeah, that has come up is that if you think your life's in danger, you call 911. Whether it's a gunman trying to get in your house or cold air that you think will freeze you to death. How does somebody know that they've reach that last threshold? I mean, I know this isn't necessarily a doctor situation, but you've probably talked to people that have escaped within a hair of losing their life. Is there any way to know that like this is the end? We need something more.
I would say number one, don't wait that long.
Yeah,
Don't don't wait till it's that point, because again, you're dealing with even ambulances and things like that that will struggle to get to you. Um, we have put out information on, what to look for in terms of frostbite and that kind of thing. But I think anytime you're feeling, you know, I think headaches are a something to think about. Drowsiness that's unusual, sort of that shutdown syndrome kind of, feeling. And that's hard to know because I mean we're all kind of feeling that, you know, in this time frame right now. But I think that just paying attention to anything with your own health that is not normal, and that you feel like could be a problem, I would say better safe than sorry.
yeah, I agree. But yeah, I think sometimes people just need to hear that again because this is an experience that not many folks have had before, right? And because of
Correct.
that, uh, we never think that we're the one that freezes to death, right? It's somebody else.
That's right.
Uh, so it's just like getting the idea that like, no, that is a realistic possibility for Mississippians in this storm, unfortunately. We have these sky cams. I'll put one behind, and you mentioned Cleveland, and we have a camera there in Cleveland. Um, it's been frozen over with this exact shot for days. That means, a fairly decent sized city still without power. And there's a lot of those out there where you think,
Right.
okay, it's one thing for it to be 20 miles out in the country. I'm in the city. It's going to be back and fine. Now you have a grouping of people. Yeah, well, what is the like capacity of some of these shelters? And do you worry that you might surpass that? And I guess you obviously have contingency plans, secondary, third tier shelters as well, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. In every community, we try to have, two or three shelter plans. And we don't just have them in one location. We have them in different locations because obviously, in any kind of storm, if it were a tornado or something, that tornado might hit, the shelter where we had planned. So we do have contingency plans in place, just like yesterday here in Tupelo when we had to move because the heat went out. And that's not anybody's fault. That's just something that happens, but it doesn't do much good to have a warming shelter when there's no heat. So, we were able to quickly pivot and move. And thankfully, by the generosity of volunteers who showed up just immediately and helped us pack up and move and get folks, over to the new shelter. And we have those contingency plans, wherever we have shelters.
Yeah. You guys respond to all different sorts of events and disasters. One question I've been asking folks here is like, how does this compare to a tornado? Like, I think on the outside, we think a tornado is a more difficult disaster, and in some ways it is, and in some ways it's not.
Well, I have a son who attends Ole Miss and he's in Oxford. And so he's been stuck in his apartment since Friday night. And without, really getting out, he said he got out and tried to walk around a little bit yesterday. And he said, Mom, it's like the tornado in Tupelo. He said, that's what it reminds me of. So it's interesting that you say that because he said, with trees down everywhere and no power and people just kind of not knowing what to do, he said, there are trees on cars and trees on houses and, of course, trees across roads. And he said, it reminds me of how, the tornado looked in Tupelo. It's just frozen instead of not.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's and with a tornado, you usually have a defined path. You're usually able to get the power
Yeah.
on in parts of a community around it and get people to places. I mean, your safest place, if you're in a highly affected rural area, might be 10, 12 miles away through the tornado like debris. That's just not something you have out of a tornado. Um, and trying to navigate that in the cold, which Mississippians, I mean, I'm not saying anything anybody didn't know here. We're not as resilient to the cold as some other parts of the country.
Sure.
It's these layered threats.
We have a couple of staff here with the Red Cross that have formerly lived other places. One, in fact, our disaster program manager, Michael Wiley, has moved down to this area, but he's originally from Buffalo, New York. And so the first couple of days, he was sort of, making fun of us and, oh, come on, toughen up, y'all. This is nothing. By yesterday, he was like, okay, this is cold. This really is cold. And so you're right. We're not our tolerance level is pretty low in terms of what we like to deal with in the cold in Mississippi. But throughout this whole thing, just the devastation of it all is what's so hard.
It is. This is going to be a sustained recovery effort. I've also been asking everyone this question: were you here in '94?
Oh yes, I have very vivid
So
memories of '94.
I'm guessing you weren't in this position at that point.
No.
Can you tell us a little about your '94 story?
Yeah, I was a fully grown adult and was working here. And one of the things I remember, I was talking to my family about this the other day, that my sister-in-law called me. She was tied up with something and she had small children at home. I mean, they were old enough to be at home by themselves, but the cracking of the limbs, that's what I remember most of all. And it sounded like gunshots and her kids were scared. And she called me and said, "Will you go over and stay with kids?" She lives down in the Belvedere area. So it's kind of,
Mhm.
down in a
Yeah.
hole and the lots of trees. And we went over and just, kind of hunkered down. And, but yeah, I mean, I remember, just of course, at that point, Tupelo was hit much harder.
Yeah.
Tupelo was a little more like our neighbors around us. And I think that I remember being without power for more than a week. Um, it's what it seemed like anyway. I don't know exactly how long it was, but I know it was quite a while.
It was long enough, right?
Yes.
Man. So, to kind of recap here for a moment, if folks need help, you have some numbers on there. That I believe is your cell phone number, and you can
It is.
get them connected. I think to the right channels, hopefully. Um, I'm showing some traffic cameras here, and I think maybe one of the keys is I look at these cameras in Saltillo, again, north side Tupelo there. Main roads in some cases are very passable. There are other parts of the state where they're not. I mean, I heard from somebody talk about 50 parts of 55 that are still rough as of yesterday. Kind of chuckled when we brought up, the governor's or not the MDOT manager's comments that the roads are all good. It's like main roads in some cases kind of rough. Um, Now might be the time. Next few hours here might be the time to try to travel. At least give it a go. Um, and some back roads. But I would say that if you can watch us, you have to make sure to have a good cell phone, because I think there's still going to be folks that try to slide off the roads or get to an impassable
Yep.
point, and you're more vulnerable in that car. I mean, it's like the
Yeah.
unfortunate thing in this, I think we're trying to choose between a series of bad decisions. If we're somebody who is in one of these remote locations, and I'm thinking about our meteorologist Gabe Maynard. I'm trying not to go on a tangent here, but I'm thinking about him. His battery has died multiple times in the last couple of days, where if they were fortunate enough that they had a second vehicle, he and his wife was able to come and get him. Some of the least fortunate might be in a situation where they don't have a battery that works and they're truly stuck. So all of that to
Right.
say, that phone number there, 911, best options, we think.
Yeah, absolutely. If you get in a true emergency situation, then obviously 911 is the best option. And I think still, I mean, we're sort of spoiled right here, but I think still if you don't need to get out, just don't. Just don't risk it. There's no point in trying to go somewhere you don't have to go. But if there are situations where you feel like it is necessary, then I do feel like there are periods of time, up on in the day, early afternoon. It seems to me like when the temperatures go above, I think today aren't we scheduled to have maybe some above freezing temperatures?
We are in Tupelo. I need to double check up north and see if that's gonna verify. We're hoping to briefly get above freezing, but then again, that means falling ice.
That's right.
I
Well,
mean,
there you go. That's true too. So again, don't
but
get
but
out if you don't
but
have to.
yeah, but I mean, it's if I'm trapped and I'm in rural portions of some of these counties, I should prepare for a 4 or 5 hour journey to try to move limbs, try to do things that I typically wouldn't do, um, and take on threats that might be more significant than we typically would to get to a shelter because I know that I can't make it another night with temperatures that cold. Because I imagine in some of these homes now, 4 days are we, after some power loss,
Yeah.
those temperatures after single digits last night can't be much more than teens, maybe 20s, right? I mean, that's
Right.
something maybe you might know more about than I do.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And I think that you hit on a good point. If you are going to try to go somewhere, go ahead and take the few extra minutes to prepare and put some things in your car. Put some water in the car, put a couple of blankets, extra battery for your phone, things like that. Go ahead and be prepared that if something happened, you're not going to freeze in your car.
Yeah. One of the people I noticed in the YouTube chat that was, and it sent chills down my spine a second ago. They mentioned that that they were going to get off of there because the battery was going to die. That's clearly a person that is now trapped, throwing on
Mm.
the phone, trying to get some information, turning it off. Mentioned that they were very very cold last night. That's a scary thought, and those people are out there, and so our prayers are with them. Casey
Absolutely.
Grist, of course, Executive Director, American Red Cross here in North Mississippi. Thank you so much for joining us here. Whoop, didn't mean to take you all the way. Hold on, I'm gonna bring it back. Wrong click there. Okay. Any kind of final thoughts that you want to kind of pass along to folks at home?
I don't think so, Matt. I appreciate all that you're doing and all that, of course, everyone across our area has been doing to help, whether it's with information or certainly our linemen and folks like that who are working 24/7, the volunteers who have been out helping to feed people and shelter folks. So, this is what we do in Mississippi. We come together and we help our neighbors, and that's what it's all about.
It is absolutely. Casey Grist, Executive Director, American Red Cross. I know it's been a lot of long, hard days and nights forward, and we've got many more to go. Thank you so much. If there's anything we could do, just let us know.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and wrap things up here. I'm probably going to restart a new live stream here in just a moment because we're going to try to talk to the folks over at the Mississippi Department of Transportation here in a minute. So I'm going to shut this one down. We'll probably reboot it for that here in just a minute. Trying to get a little more information on some of those roads, especially in the northwest part of the state. But from all of us here at Mississippi Live Weather, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon reporting. Next live broadcast here in a few minutes, our typical daily live broadcast 5, 6, 10, and 6:37, 7:30 a.m.
As we move into storm season, here's something most homeowners don't realize after a storm. Roof damage isn't always obvious. Wind can lift shingles, breaking the seal. Hail can bruise them below, and flashing around chimneys and pipes can loosen without you ever knowing. That damage may not show up for months. If your area has strong wind or hail, a professional inspection will help bring you clarity before small damage turns into bigger problems.